definition of entrepreneurship. My name is Dr. Safaa Elouadifi from Morocco, and today I will guide you through a practical and engaging journey to understand what entrepreneurship is. Far beyond the simple idea of starting a business. During this session, we will explore definitions. We will disprove some of the misconceptions or myths around entrepreneurship. We're gonna discover the global and the regional examples and reflect on how you, as a trainers all over the region, North Africa, can reflect and can teach these concepts effectively in your own context. We will focus on developing key entrepreneurial competencies aligned with the Intercomp framework. The Intercomp framework explained the entrepreneurship aligned on some element. First, spotting opportunities, creativity, mobilizing others, and finally, turning ideas into action. By the end of this model, you will be equipped to define entrepreneurship, explain its evolution, and transfer this concept effectively to your own learners. Thank you for being here. So let's get started. Before we dive in, let me share what you will achieve by the end of this module. We will clarify, as I told you at the beginning, what entrepreneurship truly means. We will try to compare some classical and modern definitions, and we will try also to challenge some common misconceptions. I will hear you and hear the myths you usually hear around your ecosystem. You will also learn about the main types of entrepreneurship, as you may know. Understand why contextualizing this concept in North Africa and across the region is so essential. Finally, we will explore how to teach entrepreneurship as a set of competences and skills, not just knowledge. So let's begin with a simple exercise, and I invite you to do the same with your participant. Take 2 minutes to write your own personal definition of entrepreneurship. No right or wrong answer, just your own understanding from your own experience. After that, I will invite you on the chat to share one key ideas, and I will take the time to read it. This exact activity, by the way, will help you and help us highlight some important entrepreneurship, something important about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not a fixed concept. Now that I am receiving your answers, I see that the definition is shaped by our culture, by our society, but the opportunities and personal experiences we have. As you share your ideas on the chat, I noticed also that you have diverse points of view. Some of you think of small businesses, others of social impact, innovation, or problem solving. This diversity, by the way, shows us that entrepreneurship is much more broader than being only one concept. It's a broader practice than we often assume. Let's together identify the themes that appear most frequently among your answers. This will guide our session today. Secondly, I invite you to watch this video. This video, when you're gonna broadcast it for your participants, is gonna take 5 minutes. The video provides a compelling perspective on the core value proposition of an entrepreneur. As you watch, focus on the action, not just the outcomes that define the entrepreneurial journey. Now, take the time to watch it. I will ask you, what is entrepreneurship? I want you, before watching it and before playing it for your participant, to write down 3 keywords that you already associate with entrepreneurship. While watching the video, ask yourself, what new insight does it give? what surprised me, and we will discuss it afterwards. Great. Now, let's reflect on the video. As you shared, it highlights three essential dimensions of entrepreneurship. First, the ability to identify an opportunity. Second, the drive to innovate, to think outside of the box. And third, and which is the most important one, is the courage to take action. Please note that these three elements are universal. Whether we talk about a startup in Tunis, a social project in Tripoli, or a youth cooperative in a rural area in Morocco, it's the same. Entrepreneurs are people who move from ideas, opportunities, to action. Many of us already think or intuitively understand concepts like initiative, creativity, and problem solving. Today, this presentation is aligned what we call the ITRCOMP framework. Why we use this framework? We use this framework because we have the we are used to use these concepts in our daily lives when we make decisions, when we adapt to challenges, when we try new ideas, or when we support others around us. But when we step into the role of a trainer, our responsibility today shifts. It's no longer enough to rely on intuition. We must turn these personal insights into structured, repeatable, and measurable learning experiences for our learners. Let me explain. What does it mean? It means that first, intuition is personal, but training must be replicable. Each trainer has their own style, experience, and approach. But learners need a consistent structure that helps them gradually develop entrepreneurial competences, regardless of who is teaching. Okay? Second, intuition can inspire, but frameworks guide learning. A framework gives us a clear map: what to teach, how to teach it, in what order, and how to evaluate progress. For entrepreneurship, this is essential. You know it. Because we are not teaching theories, we are teaching behaviors, skills, mindsets, competences. And without a clear structure, learners may feel inspired, but they won't know how to apply entrepreneurship in real situations. Third, structured teaching makes entrepreneurship measurable and transferable. This means learners can track their progress, trainers can assess growth objectively, and institutions can integrate entrepreneurship across different programs. This is exactly the perfect purpose of today's session, and this is exactly why frameworks like EntreComp exist. They help us as a trainers to break down a broad concept like entrepreneurship into specific components. First component, spotting opportunities, mobilizing resources, taking initiative, managing risk, planning, and so on. By using such frameworks, we make sure that entrepreneurship is not thought as vague motivation, but as a set of concrete skills that anyone can learn, whether they are youth, adults, employees, or communities leader in Libya, Tunisia, Morocco, or anywhere else. So this slide is a reminder that your intuition is valuable as a trainer, but structure is what transforms intuition into a professional learning journey. And as a trainers, that structure is what enables us to create impact, consistency, and real skill development. One of the most useful, as I was telling you, frameworks is EntreComp, the European Entrepreneurship Competence Framework. It organizes entrepreneurship into three pillars: ideas and opportunities, resources into action. This framework is valuable because it helps trainers design activities that develop skills step by step, not just knowledge. So, after explaining the importance of structure, let's dive into the evolution of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not a new word or concept. It has a long history. It did not begin with Silicon Valley or modern startups. It evolved gradually across centuries, shaped by economic transformation, technological revolutions, and social changes. So understanding this evolution help us show learners that entrepreneurship is not a trend. It's a fundamental human activity rooted in our civilization. Let's walk through the major stages. I will not get into all the era, but I will explain the most important milestone in the history. First milestones, pre-industrial era, which is the ancient time, 17th century. It was entrepreneurship first appeared in this period of time as a form of trade and craftsmanship. It looks like most of it in North Africa as what we call the Trans-Saharan caravan trade, the Mediterranean port cities, the souks. The key ideas at this era is entrepreneurs were risk takers who connected regions, built networks, and created early forms of value exchange. From the 80s to the 90s, it's the early industrial era. This period marks the transition from small scale production to organized manufacturing. What changed is entrepreneurs were now resource organizers and not only connectors. So, comes after the early 18th century industrial expansion and SMEs, what we call the small and medium sized enterprise. The word entered the age of mass production or change. Change is that entrepreneurs become innovators. They were improving efficiency, and scaling market. This is where Schumpeter, we're gonna dive into the definition of, Schumpeter, a creative destructions becomes visible and new technologies replacing old systems. The late 20s, globalization in international markets from the 1980s onward, entrepreneurship become global and entrepreneurs become opportunity seekers and connected to global markets, exporting, importing, sourcing, and scaling internationally. Early 20s, it's known as the digital revolution and the birth of startup. This period completely transformed entrepreneurship worldwide. What changed? It was the access to internet, mobile technology, digital services, startup methodologies. Entrepreneurs become problem solving using technology to scale rapidly. And from 2020 to today, we have seen something different. Today, entrepreneurship is shaped by new priorities: sustainability, resilience, inclusion, and adaptation. The future is what are we preparing our students and our participants for? And we are now entering a new era where entrepreneurship is influenced first, as you may know, by EI. EI is helping entrepreneurs optimize agriculture, supply chain, education, and healthcare. Renewable energies and climate innovation, the emergence and the development of a green entrepreneurship. We have a lot of key elements that change the future. The future today belongs to entrepreneurs who combine creativity, technology, and sustainability, not just profit driven thinking. So before we talk about modern entrepreneurship, let's stay a little bit in the past and understand where the concept of entrepreneurship comes from to help us see how much it has evolved. Okay, so the first, it began with the economist, with John Baptiste Say in the early 80s. John Baptiste Say was one of the first to define the entrepreneur, and his definition is an entrepreneur is someone who reorganizes resources to make them more productive. Okay, this was the first image of the entrepreneur, a resource manager. Then, about a century later, Joseph Schumpeter changed the conversation completely, and he said the entrepreneur is an innovator, someone who shakes the system by introducing something new. So, this is where the famous concept of creative destruction comes from. It means new ideas replace old way of doing things, new technologies destroy old markets, and innovation becomes the engine of economic evolution. What these two thinkers show us today that first, say improving what exists. Schumpeter is about more creating what didn't exist. So, in short, entrepreneurship moved from management to transformation. Now, let's move from the classical economists to more modern thinkers. As the world changed, our understanding of entrepreneurship had to change as well. It was no longer just about managing resources or disrupting markets. It became about responding, sorry, to change and creating value in new ways. Modern thinkers broadened the idea of entrepreneurship. Peter Drucker explained that entrepreneurship is mainly about recognizing changes in society, in technology, or customer needs, and turning those changes into opportunities. This means entrepreneur entrepreneurs pay attention, adapt quickly, and act before others do. In the other hand, the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, gives an even more practical definition. It defines entrepreneurship as the ability to turn ideas into action. For me, this definition is inclusive. It applies not only to business startups, but also to social projects, environmental solutions, and community initiatives. Is the great example. We have a lot of great example in the modern world today that shows that entrepreneurship is not only about profit, it is also about creating positive social impact. Here is another important distinction to make when when we are talking about the entrepreneurship foundation. Entrepreneurship is not the same as self-employment, right? A self-employed person works mainly to sustain a business through their own labor, as the entrepreneur aims to create value, innovate, and scale. Both, don't get me wrong, both are very important, but they require different mindsets, competencies. This distinction is especially important in regions where informal self-employment is common, like in North Africa. Okay? Another element to distinguish between in entrepreneurship concepts is the term of intrapreneur. Intrapreneur is an employee inside a company who behaves like an entrepreneur. They innovate, create new ideas, develop projects, solve problems, and take initiatives inside the organization instead of creating their own separate business. They use the company's resources, networks, and support to build something new. A simple definition to explain an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur inside a company. And there is a lot of real example of entrepreneur today. For example, the success stories of Gmail. Gmail was created by an entrepreneur at Google. His name is Paul Bashita. An employee at Google developed Gmail as a side project during the company's 20% of his time was given to develop the Gmail. Okay, and today it became one of the world's most used email services. A second real example, one of the success stories also, is the post-it notes created by Art Fry at Pencil Silver. Two 3M employees. They created the post-it note while experimenting with new adhesive glue. At this point, with your participant learners, check the understanding of some concepts. So I will I know that I also expose the answer, but at this point, let's just quickly check your understanding with short quiz. You don't need to answer out loud, just point to the right thinker in your mind who said entrepreneurs innovate through new combinations. You can share your answer on the chat. Second question, who said entrepreneurship is exploiting changes? Third, who focused on reorganizing resources? Okay, let's take just a little bit of time to collect all the answers. Great. Let's continue. Thank you for sharing. So, now let's summarize what do we mean by entrepreneurship. Through the EntreComp formula, we can say that the entrepreneurial formula is based on two essential components. First, innovation. Second, initiative, which means action. And third, impact. Innovation brings new ideas. Initiatives transform them into reality, and impact creates economic, social, and also environmental value and impact. As trainers, our role is to help learners strengthen all the three and to make sure all the project that we listen to, that we mentor, combine the three elements: innovation, initiative, and impact. Moving forward. Now, let's clarify and debunk some of the myths around the entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurship. Many myths still surround entrepreneurship, and these misconceptions can discourage people from even trying. So let's clarify a few of them. Myth number one: entrepreneurs are born. Entrepreneurs are born is at the opposite of the growth mindset. The human is what exactly? The human is the combination of genes, environment, and mindset. Either you have a growth mindset that believe we are not, we can develop our intelligence, we can develop our skills, or you can have a fixed mindset, which means that you believe that your intelligence is a component that you don't have the control over. Okay, entrepreneurs are not born. Science is telling us this. Entrepreneurship is not a personality type. Yeah, it is a set of skills like creativity, initiative, problem solving and resilience that can be learned and strengthened through practice, training, and experience. And if it were only genetics, we wouldn't be here teaching it today. Okay? Second myth, you need a lot of money to start. Most successful venture begin small all over the world. In the US, we have a lot of successful stories that we know. And in our regional ecosystem in North Africa, in the Arab world, we have a lot of success story. Most successful venture begins small. The idea is to accept to start small and to be not to be perfect. Sometimes they started without almost no capital. What matters most is the ability to start lean. What does it mean? The lean startup, which means start small, test ideas quickly, get feedback, use available resources, creativity, and develop and enhance the prototype. Many global companies started in a garage like Apple, Google, a lot of them, a small business office, or even a kitchen. Myth number 3, entrepreneurship is only for the young. Age is not a barrier. In fact, experience, networks, and industry knowledge often give older entrepreneurs a major advantage. For example, the example of the success story of KFC with Colonel Sanders, who started the company at the age of 65. Myth number 4 that we need to break today. Entrepreneurs work alone. You should remember that your network is your net worth. Again, your network is your net worth. No one succeeds alone. Behind every entrepreneur, there is a team, mentors, partners, suppliers, a supportive ecosystem, friends, other entrepreneurs. Okay? Collaboration, not isolation, is what drives entrepreneurial success. This is why today we challenge and we encourage entrepreneurs to work collectively, to develop what we call the collective thinking, to try to find solution together and to collaborate. Today, challenges this means help us create a more realistic and inclusive entrepreneurial culture, one where people of all ages, backgrounds, and skills, and from all over the world, it's not happening only in Silicon Valley, it's happening all over the world, feel empowered to participate, to succeed, to suggest, to contribute, and to make an impact in their communities. Right? So, when we break these stereotypes, as I was saying, we open doors for more people, women, youth, rural communities, or displaced population to flourish. Entrepreneurship, and this is what I love the more about it, is today becoming a tool for empowerment, not just profit. So as a trainers, we play an essential role in creating this inclusive vision and to integrate it in the youth mindset. Talking about mindset. Mindset is execution. When we talk about mindset, I will give you the definition of Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck, who wrote a book about mindset and work on the question of mindset, is defining the mindset as the way how you see the world, the way how you see yourself, and how you see others. And the entrepreneurial mindset is a growth mindset where you have two important elements. First of all, an opportunity. But what is the most important thing? An opportunity without action is zero. Entrepreneurial mindset is combining an opportunity with action. Many people see opportunities, but few of them act on them. Execution means taking initiative, testing ideas, Failing, adapting, trying again is what makes the difference. So, as a trainers, we must help learners move from thinking to doing, and especially to think about the curve of entrepreneurship as a roller coaster rather than a linear way of achieving things. Not all entrepreneurship looks the same, and this is very important to understand. Some entrepreneurs adopt what we call the survival entrepreneurship. What I mean by survivor entrepreneurship is the survivor entrepreneurship happens when people start a small business because they have no other choice. They need only to generate income quickly. For example, selling food, repairing phones, mechanician, driving a taxi, or running a small kiosk, or having a small brick and mortar. These businesses are usually informal, especially in North Africa. We notice this stuff in Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, Egypt. These businesses are usually informal, low budget, and focused on meeting basic needs. There is no focus on the impact. Okay. The second type of entrepreneurship is what we call opportunity driven entrepreneurship. On the other hand, is when someone starts a venture or startup because they see a market opportunity. They innovate, introduce something new, or build a business that can grow, like a tech startup, a creative brand, or a green energy solution. Today, we should mention that digital tools, better access to education, and the rise of sustainability focused markets and those kind of training like we are giving today are helping more people move from survival activities to more innovative, scalable, impactful ventures. This transition is especially important in regions where youth are looking for new ways to create value and build long term careers. The impact of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a key driver of development. As you may know, it creates jobs eventually, stimulates innovation, strengthens community resilience. In regions facing economic and social challenges, Africa, for example, entrepreneurship becomes not only a trend, but at my point of view, it's becoming a powerful tool for transformation. Think of local solution developed by youth, women, or community. I think about all the cooperative I see here in Morocco, in the Atlas, Mountain Atlas. I think about a lot of small startup in Tunisia, in Egypt. These initiatives can create meaningful and long-lasting changes. As I was saying, entrepreneurship is not one single model. It's a broad term that includes a lot of definition, a lot of type, a lot of meaning, a lot of goals, a lot of learning objective. It exists in many forms, each shaped by the needs of the market, the culture, and the environment. So let's explore together the five major categories. We have other categories, but here I'm going to present only the five major one with concrete example from our region so we can better connect theory to local reality. The first one, as you see on the slide, is called the social entrepreneurship solving social or community problems. This one is very, very important today. In this category, social entrepreneurs focus on impact rather than profit. Their goal is to provide solutions to issues such as education, healthcare, youth employment, or women's empowerment. We have a lot of examples, but I will just mention some of them. EFE, I have been working with them. EFE is an NGO helping young graduates in Tunisia and MENA region, in Morocco, all over different area, different countries, helping young graduates develop employabilities and soft skills, bridging the gap between education and labor market demands. You have another example, Tamkin Center in Libya. Tamkin Center is a center supporting women's empowerment and economic inclusion through training and small business incubation. Those two examples are type of what we call social entrepreneurship. The second type of entrepreneurship is what we call technological entrepreneurship. It's leveraging innovation and digital tools to create an impact. Tech entrepreneurs are using innovation, software, mobiles app, AI, fintech, green tech, agri-tech to solve modern problems and scale rapidly. We have a lot of example that is to say creating a valuable impact and that's becoming not only startup but they are on the way to become what we call unicorns. We have another type category called cultural and creative entrepreneurship. This form of entrepreneurship connects business with arts, culture, fashion, cuisine, or craftsmanship. It is especially important in countries with rich cultural histories. We have, for example, in Morocco, a lot of artisans who develop some brands, um, creative brands that helps today preserves our identity as a country of artisanal and creating jobs for women and youth. Green and eco entrepreneurship. Green entrepreneurs tackle environmental issue such as waste, climate change, water scarcity, and renewable energy. We have a lot of startups in Morocco today who are working today to monitor environmental risk like illegal fishing, pollution, to preserve the environment. This category, by the way, is growing fast because climate changes in North Africa are pushing entrepreneurs to innovate in agriculture, water management, recycling, and renewable energy. We have a five category called community-based entrepreneurship. These are small enterprises created to meet local demand, essentially for economic resilience. They may be micro businesses, cooperatives, or family-run initiatives. We have a lot of women cooperative in Nalut, Midun, small neighbor services, a lot of these businesses that may be scaled globally and at the same time they have an impact on the local economy and they create essential jobs in their respective countries. And we have what we call the hybrid models. This model is also very important. Many modern businesses combine two or more of this type. For example, you have a digital platform that sells traditional crafts globally. So they use at the same time technology and cultural impact. A startup using AI to optimize water use in farms. We have a lot of these videos, OCP in Morocco. A community cooperative producing eco-friendly products. So it is at the same time social, green, and local. Hybrid models are increasingly common because today's problem requires solutions that cross traditional boundaries. So as you can see, entrepreneurship is incredibly diverse. So understanding these categories help us guide our learners toward the type of entrepreneurship that best matches their strengths, passions, and their local context. So our role today as a trainers is to help them see the full spectrum of possibilities and to try as much as they can. There's another interactive practice I'd like you to do before going further. Let's do a quick matching exercise. I will read out a few business examples to see if you understand and if you grasp the difference between each category. And you tell me which category they belong to. You can answer on the chat, okay? So let's get started. First of all, a business specializing in upcycle ocean plastic into furniture. Is it green, social, local, technological? I will give you some time to answer on the chat. Okay, perfect. Second one, NGO providing free online coding education for underserved youth. Green, social, local, technological, or hybrid. This is also one of the categories you can also mention on the chat. Third, a small traditional family-run bakery serving a neighborhood since 1950. Which category belongs to? Okay. Fourth, case example, a mobile application connecting patients in rural areas to specialists via video call. Green, social, local, technological, or hybrid. Give you some time to think about the answers. Perfect, sounds good. So let's move forward. At this point, my advice for you as a trainer is to ask your participant which takeaway resonates most with you, with your teaching experience, actually. Okay? Uh, you should, as a trainer, adopt what we call the model at entrepreneurial attitude that focus on three elements, which is curiosity, creativity, and resilience. Okay. So at this point, as we reach the end of our session, I'd like to bring everything together and highlight the key insights that define the spirit of entrepreneurship, and especially the role you play as a trainers. Okay, we have seen different elements during all this session, but at this point, remember that entrepreneurship is fundamentally a mindset combined with action. It starts with how we see problems, how we recognize opportunities, and how we choose to respond. The idea alone is never enough. What matters is the willingness to experiment, to take initiative, and to move step by step from intention to reality. Second element you should remember, entrepreneurial skills are not innate. They are teachable, learnable, and developable. This means that every learner, whether young or old, whether based in a capital city, in Rabat or in Ben Grir or in Tunis or wherever, or in a rural community, has the potential to think and act entrepreneurially. Our job today is to create the right condition for this potential to grow. Okay? Third, success today is not measured only by financial, performance. And this is very important, especially with the Gen Z to implement. The most impactful entrepreneurs are those who create social value, cultural value, and environmental value, alongside, of course, with what we call economic value. We need to get out of from this model we have in North Africa, in our regions, about survival entrepreneurship. Yeah, it's important to have an economic value, but we should also implement the social value, the cultural value, and the environmental value. In regions like North Africa, where communities are rebuilding, adapting, and transforming, this broader impact is more important, I think, than ever. Fourth, entrepreneurship is not an individual journey. It is a collective effort. Okay? It thrives in supportive ecosystems. Trainers, what I mean by ecosystem is trainers, mentors, institutions, communities, networks, and peers. When we collaborate, we share knowledge and support each other, we create what we call an environment where innovation becomes possible, even with limited resources. So, as you return to your classrooms or your training centers or communities, our hope for you is to carry with you new perspectives, practical tools, teaching strategies, and inspiring examples you have on the platform that will help you shape the next generation of entrepreneurs. Your role, our role, is powerful. We are not just delivering content, we are shaping and reshaping mindsets, opening possibilities, and building confidence in people who may have never been told you can do it. It's not always happening over there, it may also happen in our region, in our country. So, thank you deeply for your participation, your reflections, and your energy. It was a pleasure sharing this session with you, and I truly hope these ideas enrich your work and your impact. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing the entrepreneurial leaders you will help develop through these assignments, this content, this insight. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day.